Welcome to Module 4. This is an important one. This is where we learn how to engage in family life education. I know we've talked about these topics a little bit, but I want to go into some detail and give you some examples of some of the best ways to go about family life education. The first of these ways is one I came upon a few years ago as I started to find video clips. I think video clips can be an excellent way to engage the audience because they are funny, they are short, they are something that someone can watch and get a message from very quickly because they are powerful. Have a couple examples that I've shared with you regarding video clips as a way of teaching. I like to keep them less than a minute, and so they have to be short and sweet, and they have to be embedded in the PowerPoint. It's not something that you can stop and go over and play. It just needs to be something that automatically comes on. And video clips can be an important part of maybe helping people to feel comfortable. For example, one of my favorite video clips is about football, and it's about a coach that is yelling at a referee, and the referee's just standing there, not listening to them. And the announcer says, where would he learn how to deal with something like that? And immediately it shifts to his home where his wife is sitting there yelling in his ear about when is the porch going to get done? And it's been 3 weeks. And it just kind of solidifies that idea of, yeah, we've all kind of been there where it feels like we're getting attacked. The fact that it's football, that helps to bring some of the guys in and help them to feel comfortable. So it's important to use video clips as a way of maybe showing something and demonstrating something very quickly in a funny way or a good concept. Next, we are operating on this tell, show, do model. Those video clips are maybe a tell, possibly a show, or a show how not to do it. Another part that you can use is stories. And stories, personal stories, can be very powerful in communicating some of the things that need to be done. And so I really love using stories as a means of teaching. For example, whenever I teach about human sexuality, I talk about a group that I had. And this group was in the state of Texas, and they were a conservative preacher who was trying to maybe they were trying to get a point across, but they were talking a little bit about the difference between intimacy and sexuality, and people were kind of nervous about it. And I said, does anyone have a good definition or a good difference between intimacy and sexuality? Or when you think of sexuality, what do you think of? And this little old lady that was the pastor's wife raised her hand. And I thought, well, I'll call on her. And I asked her, I said, you know what, when you think of sexuality, what do you think of? And she said, well, personally, I think of the two bird figurines I have in my bathroom. And immediately I thought, oh, this is a good story. And my presenting partner was like, oh, this could go south so quickly. And so we were sitting there talking, and before we had a chance to kind of figure out, should we ask her for more information, I just went for it. And I said, talk to me more about the figurines. And she said, well, normally the two figurines in my bathroom face apart from one another. She said, but when I turn them to face each other, that means it's go time and it's on. And his face went red, and she was just like, yeah, that's our sign. And it was hilarious. And everyone kind of, heard that, laughed and relaxed. But that really is perhaps a key component of maybe communicating to our partner when we might be ready for sexual intimacy. And so I use that story all the time to kind of lighten the mood as we start to talk about some of these more difficult topics. Next, we have role play. And role play is something that you need to learn how to master. The first time I was asked to do role play was a training that I went to in Idaho. And They explained the concept and they said, all right, get up and do it. And I'm usually an kind of just a person who's pretty comfortable in front of groups, and normally extroverted, can kind of make things happen. But when I went to act something out, I had no idea what I was doing, and I kind of felt shy and got quieter and smaller. And the leader of the group said, you just kind of have to let it go. You kind of have to let it go and just go crazy. And so I did. I said, hey, if I'm going to sell this, I'm going to sell it big. So anytime I'm in a role play, I go all out and kind of represent it. The beautiful thing about role play is the people in the audience who are watching it are feeling and seeing examples that they go through on their own. And as they see themselves up here in you, they tend to relax. They see you make some of the same mistakes they do. They see you start to do things better, and they want to do better themselves. And so role play is an excellent way to do that. And we kind of outlined some of the roles of role play. The most important one that I want to emphasize is that you have to have a punchline. You have to end right with the line that you want them to take home. One of the classic examples of a line that we talked about a little bit earlier in this lesson: families that play together stay together. Why does everyone know that line? Because it's a great punchline, and it's something that people hold on to. Sharing is caring. That is another one. Maybe it rhymes, it doesn't have to rhyme, but it is the take-home message, and it is so impactful. Role plays ought to be used as maybe introductory activities, getting started, maybe demonstrating what not to do, but more importantly, more often, what to do in relationships. Then we have to use things like group exercises. Group exercises are when we want to get people involved in what we're doing. And so the first thing that we say in family wellness is everyone stand up. We need people to stand up and to be actively participating. I have to think about, how do I want people to be divided up? For example, do I want people to be with a family member or in a different group from a family member? Do I want people to be in opposite sex groups or same sex groups? Do I want groups that are formed by age? And so there's a lot of considerations that I would do. Remember that when you assign a group a responsibility or an activity, you have to hold them accountable to that. Part of group work is to go around and check on to make sure they're doing it. But once that group activity is done, it's also important to process. What is one thing that you learned from this? What's something you guys came up with? How about this group? What about that group? That way, no one feels like we can just sit here and talk about whatever we want to do and not actually take part in what they're saying or doing. A great exercise can really get people involved, wake them back up, kind of reset, and have them actually practice. So group exercises ought to be practice oriented, where they're implementing the skills. The last of the great techniques that we want to talk about is family sculpture. And this is one that's not well understood. Family sculpture was actually developed by Virginia Satir as part of therapy. And essentially what they did is had people, especially children, describe a situation. And so the children might describe dad's reaction to them not doing well at school, and say, okay, what does dad look like? Well, he's a bear and he's huge, and here's what he does. And it's a great way to kind of show what's actually happening and to be able to engage those. One sculpture that I really love is to use a continuum. And what I mean by that is we take the room from this side to this side, and we set it up with different aspects. Say, for example, all those on this side used save money. Money was important. We saved it. We planned for it. We spent it only when we needed to. But it was something that was very important. On this side, money was something that freely came and went. A lot of times we didn't have money. We went without, or we were in debt. And so people can arrange them on maybe the house that they grew up in. And maybe someone who's over here, who grew up over here, in the end, as I just asked them, like, what's that like? And what's the advantage? What's the disadvantage? What's the advantage over here? What's the disadvantage? Then I can ask people, where would you like to go? And this person might come this way, and this person might come this way. And so I could talk about, why did you move so far? Why did you move so far? What's going into that? So family sculpture is another way to engage individuals, and they're actively participating. They're looking at seeing what it looks like, representing a family by placing individuals in a family, having them connect with one another, having them do the things that they need to do. These elements are actually the way that knowledge is transformed. It's not the lectures. The many lectures that I can do can only be between 5 and 7 minutes before I really lose them. In fact, I'm probably 10 minutes in here and I've already lost you twice. So pay attention. Many lectures tell people about something, but I need them to show them and actually have them do it to really get them to absorb the material. So those are going to be incredibly important, and we're going to have opportunities to learn more about that. So understanding maybe how to use stories or other things as powerful ways to kind of draw people in is something that's vital for family life education. It can't just be you up here talking the whole time. You have to get people up, you have to get them involved, you have to get them to a higher level where they're actually doing what you want them to do. And that is the most effective style of family life education. Remember this important thing, that when the couple or family leaves your class and they're at home and they're engaging in an argument, or they're trying to use the skills that you taught them, you aren't there to help them. And so they have to figure out how to do it before they leave you, because you won't be there to help them. And the best way to do that is to get them involved by having them actively do some of these things. So you have to design using these elements and using them sporadically throughout in a very strategic way. So look at those learning outcomes, find the activity that goes with it, explain it with a mini lecture, have them do an activity. So you talk about it, they do something, you talk about it, they do something different, over and over and over again. And your audience is going to be learning the whole time, rather than just tuning in and tuning out and tuning in again. So those are the best ways to be effective as an educator, as an instructor, and to be able to reach out to people and to bring them in. Remember, they have to believe that you're a real human. They have to believe that you care about them. And all of these are ways that communicate to them, hey, I am here for you, and I am here for your learning. So jump in, learn about these, get engaged, get involved in creating them, and use them in your lesson plans that are coming up in the future. Good luck.